Hey guys, so I'm going to be reviewing a fragrance today that had been on my list to try for a very long time, and I don't know why I didn't get around to it sooner. It's Dior's Fahrenheit Le Parfum, and the reason that it's been on my list to try, my wish list if you will, is because I like the original Fahrenheit. Of course that's not for everyone, but I think that the original Fahrenheit's a really, really unique masculine scent that I don't know, I always thought was a masterpiece. And for me, when I first smelled it, I really loved it at first sniff because of that really intriguing kind of ozonic quality that you get from the violet leaf note. And so you get this cucumber vibe, and then it turns into a very dry kind of leather. And of course, a lot of people describe a petroleum kind of smell. So, Le Parfum is 2014 release, and it's kind of touted as the more kind of modern wearable version by a lot of people who've tried it or reviewed it, and it has really good reviews. And I want to tell you why I think it's a really good fragrance, but I still have not bought a full bottle of it. Apparently it's a discontinued fragrance, but it's still available, but it does go for $100 to $110, and so I think it's quite expensive for 75 ml. So I want to tell you why I'm not sure it's worth that price, even though the scent is really good in my book. So it's not really the ideal fragrance for me. So I've already got the dry down, and I've been testing this fragrance for about a week or two just to get a good sense, because to me overall it felt like a simple scent, right? And so, at the same time, I wanted to give you guys a good description of the scent and not just kind of really oversimplify it, because I'm sure there are facets here that other people are going to pick up and really appreciate about the scent. So I'm going to try to kind of tell you what I think it smells like. So let's talk about that, right? So fresh spray. So, if you watch reviews, I think many will say that they detect the original DNA of Fahrenheit, that characteristic smell, which we don't have to go into, many of you guys know, and you really should try that one first. But there was one reviewer that I saw who said that they basically, this didn't feel at all like the original Fahrenheit, that there was really no relation in terms of the scent. And I can see why there is that kind of differing opinion, because for me, and the very, very initial spray, just as it came out, I immediately got that Fahrenheit sense, right? That Fahrenheit smell from the violet leaf. And it was there definitely, with less of that kind of intense petroleum-like, gasoline-like accord. More of this is a sweeter version of that note, right? But that kind of fresh feel that Fahrenheit has, this has as well. But the thing is that smell that reminded me of Fahrenheit was very, momentary. And then pretty quickly, the vanilla comes up. And so it ends up being quite a sweet fragrance. And I think overall, the reason that I don't like it so much, I like it, but it's not the perfect fragrance for me, is because the vanilla note is a little bit too dominant for me. That said, it is a well-balanced fragrance, but personally, this has a little bit more sweetness than I would like. I like the idea that they're going for. Retaining the violet note of the original, then going into like a boozy direction with the rum note, and then balancing it out with some sweetness. I think that works really well, but just a tad sweet for me. And so basically, because the vanilla is so strong, it starts to kind of get more mushy and smell simple and remind you of other fragrances. It smells a little bit generic because of that. It has that kind of maybe woody sweet undertone mixed in with vanilla, and the slight boozy feel, which a lot of fragrances recreate using different combinations of notes. They don't always literally list the rum note, but here they do. And one thing I do appreciate about the scent is that the rum note, and overall the alcohol, the liquor note is very, very realistic. And to me, of all the fragrances that have listed rum or any other whiskey or whatever note, I think that this overall gives me the feel of liquor or of whiskey a lot more than any of those other fragrances. I think it's very, very accurate. Not that, if you actually smelled whiskey, you would smell this, because, it wouldn't smell so sweet. And this, of course, has a prominent leather note, suede leather note as well. But I think the combination of notes kind of piques your imagination in that direction, right? It makes me think of, right away, of like a barrel-aged, whiskey or bourbon. So specifically bourbon, because of the sweetness. And so they have some spices in here, the coriander, caraway, and then that, along with the violet leaf, combined with the leather, to me simulates like an oakiness that you get with whiskey smells, right? And also a kind of more earthy, organic kind of feel, right? Some types of spices can add that, and I think here these the caraway and coriander, combine to give it that kind of malty sense. And so overall, it has a very kind of boozy feel. A lot, and that is very strong, and probably the main part of this fragrance. And additionally, adding to that is this mandarin note. And so I think that there is this kind of slightly sour and tangy aspect, which really balances out the darker notes here really well, and goes well with the overall rum accord. And I think that's kind of one of the strong points here, the balance. So again, I said that it feels like a balanced fragrance. Personally, it's a bit too much vanilla, but they did utilize, Demachy did utilize these other notes well, I think. There is something, there is like a smoothness that I think is characteristic of many of his creations. They seem kind of simple, yet you can feel that there are maybe more ingredients than you initially might expect. So that it is, it doesn't feel complex, like it's constantly changing on you. It's one whole kind of unit. That's the kind of scent I get here. And so to me, the problem is that it's a little bit too expensive for that type of scent. I think, if you have another, let's say, really good boozy fragrance that you like, this might not add so much, because I think if they actually kept that, 1 or 2 second opening with a little bit more of the violet leaf note, if they kept that for longer, somehow keeping in the violet, making the violet note a little bit stronger maybe, and retaining a little bit more of the original DNA, I would have liked this a lot more. And there's one other thing. So there is a licorice note, which initially, it again blends seamlessly with all the other notes. And then you definitely do detect it. So there is, once it's there, it really smells like licorice. So it has that kind of dark, rooty, sweet smell to it. And so if you really don't like licorice, maybe that might also turn you off as you wear this more and more. And I find that it's not a really strong note. It's not off-putting, but at times it comes through, like even as it's coming off the skin, that licorice note does come out. It peeks through a bit stronger at times. So to me, I'm not the biggest fan of that note. I think it leads to a little bit of a inkiness that they're probably going for here, this contrast of dark and then the mandarin explosion, kind of citrusy facet. But to me, it's already kind of a dark smelling scent. And again, if they amped up the violet note, and again, maybe the toned down the licorice note, I think that it would be a more wearable scent for me, because it's not a super dense kind of fragrance that's hard to wear from that standpoint, like certain amouage scents, right, where they're kind of intoxicating, spicy, overwhelming. It is not like that. This is a very pleasant scent, and I think the overall scent is easily at least an 8 out of 10. But the thing is that, you know, things like the licorice note, the suede leather, it makes all of this feel a little bit darker and stuffier than it has to be, in my opinion. And then, of course, you add in the sweetness, so it's not quite, you know, nauseating, but this boozy accord becomes too strong for my taste. And I am a fan of whiskeys and those kinds of aromas in general. So just to give you some context, but you know, as you know, there are many, you know, fans of this fragrance, but that's sort of my take on the scent. Very pleasant, but I'm not sure, you know, how much I would wear it. Definitely, I would wear it only in the cold weather, and that's because you know, even as I was testing it in the summer, it's been pretty hot these days. I really did not want to test it, but I was doing it just so I could learn about the fragrance. But I found myself not wanting to wear it because of the scent profile. It leans dark and sweet and really liqueur-like. So, you know, it has, I think, for me, a little bit of a limited use. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think of Le Parfum, and I'll see you in the next review. Bye.